Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another really special Talking Insomnia episode. We have Aida with us from Switzerland. Welcome.
Hi, happy to be here.
And yeah, super glad you're here. And for those of you who don't know you, you were part of our Insomnia Immunity program for a couple of months, and you graduated, I would say, how long ago? Like 6 months or maybe a year ago?
Yeah, time has, life has been so good. I don't remember, but really, I think it was about April, I would say, April, May. Yeah, somewhere
Right.
around there.
And I already then said if you ever want to be a guest, let me know. And you actually emailed me the other day and said, like, yesterday I had coffee, I was kind of upset, and I slept well, and I'm like, it's time. So I was so glad you're here.
Yeah.
But with that said, take us back. So when did you start having trouble sleeping?
Okay, so actually, now that I can trace it back to maybe 15, 16 years ago. So I had this thing in my life happen, and a traumatic event. And so I just stopped sleeping. I just could not sleep. And you know how you go down the rabbit hole, like when you don't sleep one night, a second night. And somehow I came out, that's what I like to say, of this episode after many, many months of with I was taking drugs, and sometimes I was trying things. I say, oh, okay, this thing works, so I should do this. And for 15 years, I was always putting sleep on a pedestal. I was always thinking, okay, I have to be careful of my sleep because I know I'm a bad sleeper. So I had decided I was a bad sleeper. And so I cannot travel. I have to sleep on this mattress. There were so many things I've been doing for all these years. And then another event happened last year.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, Ida, but just so we know that first episode, like 15 years ago, how difficult was that? Was it, kind of a nuisance, or was it quite a difficult time for you?
No, it was a very difficult time. But then the sleep was more difficult than the actual trauma. The sleep became a trauma. And now when I remember that time, I remember, oh wow, that's the time I could not sleep. And every time I was always remember about that time I could not sleep. And I somehow magically got out of it, and this is because I took all sorts of drugs to knock me out, and I was trying combinations and cocktails, and it was a very terrible time for me. And to me, I thought, oh wow, I can never go through that again. I can never go through that time again. So yeah, so sleep has always been a super sensitive issue. And of course, through these years, I've always had, a couple of days where you don't sleep, and I was in panic mode, and I would take a sleeping pill or something to, I would say, regulate it and to fix it. And so I would sleep, and then somehow after a week, then I'd be okay again, and so it was always like this. I can tell you, I can count the times I've traveled. I have not traveled that much because I just did not want to leave this comfort zone I had created for myself around sleep. Everything was around sleep, and more than sleep, it was about not being tired. So this went on for many, many years, and then I had my daughter. And
how long, roughly how long ago did you have your daughter?
She's 6 now, so that was 6 years ago. And I got pregnant, and for a month, the first month, I said, oh my God, something is changing in my life. So stress, and I didn't sleep for a month, and I said, oh my God, this is happening again. How am I going to deal with this when I have a child? I couldn't even deal with it when I was alone. This is going to be horrible. And so it went on and on and on, and somehow I started sleeping again. So for me, I always thought, oh, I got lucky, and I have to understand and study how this happened. So I was, I always had some kind of magic formula that I would use to sleep. So it could be the temperature, it could be a weight blanket, it could be not going to bed after a certain time, it could be, it was all sorts of things, but really that's how it was all these years. And
So yeah, just to
yeah.
contextualize for the audience, so basically, like, you had this like really traumatic experience for several months, and then somehow that ended, but you were not quite sure how. But you tried to kind of replicate whatever you thought worked, and then it put you into this, like, we call it like a truce, where you're scared of it happening again, but you think, like, if I just get things correct, it'll be okay. And every
Yes.
time you kind of came out of a speed bump or trouble sleeping, you kind of change the formula a little bit and something like that. Which is, again, just to contextualize for the audience and say it's very, very common. So yeah, but with that said, like, take us back to the story. You were now pregnant, you had trouble sleeping, get a little easier. What happened next?
Then with a child comes sheer exhaustion. So I slept out of sheer exhaustion, and that, now that I understand, I couldn't think about sleep. I was so tired and taking care of a new human being. I didn't think about sleep that much. So I slept. And again, when she started growing up, life becomes normal again. So again, it's the sleep thing. And like, my husband was telling me, okay, let's go on vacation there. And I was like, no, we can't. What if she cries in the middle of the night? Then I won't sleep. And then again, everything came back to sleep. Where is she going to sleep? Where, everything was sleep. What's there, to the point where I was checking out a hotel to check what kind of mattress they had, because I only slept on that mattress. And I would tell people I have a delicate sleep. This was it. I was just a bad sleeper. And last November, someone in my family died. Someone close to me died, and again, another traumatic event. But after a week, it didn't solve. You know how I had my formulas and I applied them. It just didn't work. I took my pills. I took more of it, less of it, every other day. But I couldn't sleep. And it went on, and I was exhausted and stressed. And 1 month, and then 2 months, and I said, okay. Then I was in total panic mode, and I said, okay, nothing is working. And I would have these anxiety, like panic attacks, where I could barely speak or breathe. And I was thinking, and every time to sleep, I was thinking, this is going to be my life. Like, how am I going to live like this? Do people live like this? I remember writing a journal about this, and I was thinking, this cannot be life. Like, how can I function? And I wouldn't even call it exhaustion. I don't even know if I was tired. It just became such an obsession. And that itself was exhausting me, because I was thinking about sleep, waking up, thinking about sleep, talking about sleep, dreaming about sleep when I did sleep. Everything was sleep. Googling like mad about sleep. I diagnosed myself with everything, went to all the doctors and said, okay, I have a problem. No, you're fine. No, I have a problem. So I thought I had the lack of vitamins, a lack of this or that. And then I thought I had the SFI. Yeah. So I was, it's so strange. You do all I remember I was waiting for my daughter to come out of school, and I was waiting for her. And of course, I'm on my telephone looking about, sleep, Googling about sleep. And this is all, like, when I tell you it consumed me, it was 24 hours a day, every minute of the day. I was thinking and breathing sleep. That was my life. And it was that's how I was. I didn't work. I stopped working.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. How are you functioning? You actually had to stop working?
Yes, I stopped working because I decided I couldn't. I just decided someone who doesn't sleep and is tired and has a headache, and my physically, it was, I felt I was walking around with a brick on my head and like lead, you know. And I had tension headaches, and I said, no, I can't possibly work like this, and I will collapse. So I will stop doing everything I was doing, you know.
And
This
I have a
is
question for you here, which is really, I think can really be enlightening for the audience here, which is at this point when you decide a person like me can't work, um, were there complaints from your colleagues or your superiors, managers, or anything like that?
Well, the thing is, I work with my husband, so he would be my boss. So really, but really, it wasn't. No, I was doing what I had to do. That, I was performing what the tasks I was supposed to perform. But I myself decided I couldn't. I was
Yeah.
being, I was being, and I was being the boss. And when you go to the doctor and he tells you, oh no, 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 this is a problem, literally. And he said, no, no, no. The first thing we've got to do is you've got to sleep, because if you don't sleep, you're not rested. Therefore, how can you perform? And so if my doctor tells me this, then I'm also thinking, yeah, 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 and I feel it too. So I'm convinced you know, that's my problem. Then I don't sleep. Sleep is my problem.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
that's how it was.
you described like it's you tell your story so well. It's so clear, like it's what truly all consuming, like literally every thought, every moment was focused
Mhm.
on this. And now you decided to stop working, and what happens next?
I decided to stop working, and well, and then of course I come across this channel, and I'm thinking, okay, no, this cannot be. This it cannot be. It cannot be like this. Like it cannot. But I start. I think I watched Sanya. Was her name? Sanya. Yeah.
Yes, Anya. Yeah.
And what she was describing was really, I was living that, and I was thinking, oh, did she really go through it? Why is she smiling now? Like, how can you go through that and smile? This cannot be, you know? And I was thinking, okay, what do I have to lose at this point? I mean, and so I said, okay, because I was doing everything and anything. I ordered so many things online, and I thought, okay, you know what? Let me try this thing. And I mean, the way she describes seems so real, because this is how I felt it, that maybe there's something there. So, yeah.
And was that, did you pretty soon after finding the channel decide to join the immunity program?
Oh yeah, the minute I did, I joined. I even joined. I joined everything I could, like everything I could, because I thought I was even looking for the magic pill. So I tried every pill. So the same way I would have said, okay, let me try everything. Something must work, because I'm very like solution oriented. Like there's a problem, there's a solution. So let me look for the solution.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's how I was listening to and that itself became an obsession too. Like, how do I fix my sleep? Because it's something that needs to be fixed. It's a problem, it needs to be fixed. And
Sorry, I
yeah.
have a question for you, Aida, which was I just want to clarify for myself, but mostly for the audience. But which was, you said when you first found our channel, you sort of said this can't be it. Can you explain what did you mean by that? What were you thinking at that point?
I said, I said, this man is smiling and explaining and explaining that it's just about hyperarousal and sleep drive, and that we should, like, I said, how can it be so simple? Why are there so many drugs on the market if it's so simple? Why? why are there so many drugs? But then obviously the drugs are not working for me. So there must be something there, you know. But then again, why is it so? Why is it so? What, it can't be about this only, you know. It just couldn't. I made it so complicated that I was looking for something complicated myself. The drugs didn't work, so that's why I was a little like, yeah. But I did join the program, and you know, I think talking to other people who went and who were describing exactly how I felt, and I said, oh, this is me, you know. Then I thought, okay, this is me, and seeing the progress, and I said, okay, so you know, maybe, you know, I started with maybe. And Sanya, I remember she did say something. She said, even if you don't believe it 100%, give it a try, you know, be open. But towards the end of her video, this is what she said. And I said, okay, you know what, I will not say no, you know, I will just try it. I put things in my body, I put drugs that I don't know anything about in my body, so like I have to try, let me try this thing. And yeah, so I joined the program, and I, you know, participated in the Slack, in the group. And yeah, it was, you know, finding people who were like you, because I thought I was the worst possible case, you know, like that I had a chaotic life, that it just could not be solved. It was just impossible. And yeah, slowly and very slowly, I saw glimpse of hope, you know, and one led to the other, which led to the other. And I cannot tell you, oh, Daniel, this is the day I started sleeping. I would not know. I just would not know. But yeah.
Wow. And we of course want to hear more about like kind of insights and experiences that led to change. But just a few more questions on how things were, you know, at the time you joined.
Yeah.
You had just, you know, again, for people maybe interested in this, can you recall some of the medications you have tried?
Oof. This was my all favorite, because I have my list. I had my list of like go-to medicines. First was Stilnox, you know, that. So I think in the US it's called what is it called?
I
It's
think that's a Z drug, right?
yes, yes, Zolpidem. So
Yeah,
Zolpidem.
Zolpidem, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I tried that. So my magic, in my magic formula, it was 5 milligrams at 11:30 at night, before midnight. So I tried that. I then tried 10 milligrams, and then I tried long lasting. You know, the long
Extended
release,
release. Yep.
extended release. Yes, 12.5. And then I tried Ativan. I tried Remeron. It's called
Remeron.
Remeron. Yes, I tried Dormicon. Yeah, I tried. I'm sure there's some more. Oh yeah, I tried antihistamine, another
Yeah.
one. But yeah, and I've tried natural stuff, CBD oil. I tried. I mean, I can go on and on about what I tried. Some more combinations. I remember one night I had them next to my bed, because I anticipated that I thought one will knock me out, and one will keep me asleep. So I had those
Yeah,
next to my bed, and I would take them. It didn't work,
totally. Thanks for
obviously.
sharing this. I had another question for you, which was, did you ever come across CBT-I or not?
Yes, I did. I did, but my first time I tried it was a disaster. I tried it by myself, and I decided just to write on the, you know, like the waking up hours, blah blah blah. But it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me because the cognitive part it was just like wake up at this time and do this at this time. When I tried doing it alone, it just didn't work for me. I couldn't understand. And I was like in a performance. Like the first thing I would do, I would wake up and write, okay, how long did I sleep? It was horrible. And when I didn't see any progress, I was just devastated with like, hey, like this is really not working. This is not really not working. However, some concepts really did help me of that, like especially the the demystification of sleep. For me it was a mystical, it was just a myth. I didn't understand what it was, and this whole education I needed to get better. So no, the thing about waking up at this hour and not doing anything after this time, or drinking, I don't know, like the blue light and this, it became like a prison, doing these things. And I vividly remember I would be on my couch, that I allocated for that, and saying, okay, what time is it? Okay, I can't fall asleep. It was bad. It was bad. Yeah.
And now, final question before we kind of move into like when things started to change, was just giving us a picture. Like at the time you were joining, things were quite difficult. What were your nights like? Was it mostly that you had this kind of in and out of sleep, or you were up for long stretches, or what were the nights like?
I would I went to bed, did not fall asleep, would just sit there and stay in bed and wait and just try to sleep. I would try to sleep. Eventually it happened because I was exhausted. I like hyper sleep, in and out of sleep, but I would make sure I stayed in bed, because to try even harder. So I would try and try and try and try, and yeah, hyper sleep. I wouldn't say I didn't sleep at all, but I was just exhausted when I woke up, and it took me hours to fall asleep. And I would look at the time, saying, oh God, I only have 2 hours left. I only have, I've been in bed for an hour and this and that. But the number of hours I spent in bed were maybe double the time I actually slept, or more, because I would just try and try and try and try for hours. And I was so jealous of my husband who could sleep. Yeah.
All right. So thanks for sharing all this, and that gives us a very clear picture of what was going on at the time you joined the program, and you started to see that, oh my gosh, there are other people who've had similar experiences. I'm not the only one, which is also so helpful. But can you maybe share with us, like when some moment when things started getting a little easier, or some either insight or experience you had that was kind of an early kind of glimmer of hope or something like that?
Yeah. So I think it's when I decided that life could not stop. Like this, despite that. So that's something I kind of I decided, okay, you know what? I've got to live. I've got to live. And I even decided, if this thing is going to kill me, I'm not, I'm going to just accept my fate. That would, like, let it kill me, whatever, So the first time I remember is when I woke up with a headache. My head was like spinning, and I was like, but I decided I would take my daughter home for lunch, which we just leave them there usually, they eat there and go. And I said, no, I'm going to take her. And I took two of her friends. So 3 children, they came to my house and they had lunch, and we went back to school. I dropped them back. That for me was thinking, okay, I made my daughter happy, despite not sleeping, despite feeling the way I felt, I'm not gonna lie, I felt miserable, and I felt like there are three children, so they were playing and screaming, and I was just thinking, oh, when is school? Can't they go back to school? But I felt miserable during this whole time. But at the end of the day, I said, I did something that made my daughter happy, despite not sleeping.
Yes.
And so this is when it started to shift, slowly started shifting. But I didn't even know it was shifting. I didn't know.
Yeah.
It started. And I'm telling you, Daniel, I would wake up in the morning every day. I had a list of 6 people I would call to talk about sleep.
Oh, really?
6 people. I would call them and I would want a detailed account of how they slept. And I wanted to know, like, how many hours, what time did you go to bed? Did you wake up at night? Like, how did you? And once I was done, I have coffee every morning outside. I would ask the barista, excuse me, how did you sleep? So everyone in my neighborhood would hear about my sleep. Everything was sleep. To the point where one actually asked me, how are your sleep issues? And every morning I would call them. And my aunt one day told me, yeah. Before I asked the question, she said, well, today I slept like this. The Uber driver, I asked him, how did you sleep? I asked the Uber driver, he said, I was having a conversation, and I wanted to ask this question, because everything for me was about sleep. How did you sleep? Tell me about it. Are you tired? And I'm sure he must have thought I was because I really wanted to know how he slept. So when I tell you it was consuming my days, it was everything. It was everything. Sleep. If in my head, if I could sleep, I could become the next president. That was my idea.
Yeah.
If only I could sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if only I could sleep.
Wow. Yeah, I actually remember you telling me about the Uber driver and you asking. I was smiling that time too. But yeah, one thing I was remembering from when you were in the meeting program and some of the calls we had were that we had another student, Matt,
Yeah.
who you remember Matt, right?
Yes, I do. I do.
And I remember he was, I think he was coming off some medication. I think you were also coming off medication, and you were telling me like, oh, Matt is so brave. Like, I want to be courageous like him, something like that. But, and I told you, you are like, you're learning and things like that. But
Yes.
and I just remembered. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that too, like the coming off the medications, which you were doing at this point. Like, was that difficult or what was that like?
I was lucky in a way because it didn't work well for me. I think I was lucky in a way. They did knock me out, but I slept too much, and I slept. It's very strange because I slept too long, but the feeling I had the next day was worse than not sleeping. Worse. I felt one day I was stuck to the bed. Physically, I had a hard time getting up. I could not, and so that, in a way, was a good thing because I thought, okay, this is worse than not sleeping. I might as well not sleep. So really, I just stopped taking it. I just stopped taking it because not sleeping was just better than this. It just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
The only good thing, I would say, the only thing I was looking forward to sometimes was, okay, I'm really going to have that time where I'm going to stop thinking and I will sleep. Because the nights are not nice when you don't sleep.
Yeah.
They're just horrid, they're bad. Nights and days. So it was just, nights were bad. At least that part was, I could forget about.
Yeah.
But I still had the day to deal with, which was worse than when I didn't sleep.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of stopped. Just the drugs didn't work for me. So
makes sense. Very well. And now, okay, so you're in the program, you're interacting with people, you're learning, and would you say that things kind of just gradually, without you even knowing, it started to get easier, or were there moments where you were kind of like, oh my gosh, this kind of magical moments, or what would you say kind of happened next in the story?
Well, I had one magical moment where I actually slept, but it never happened again because I was trying to reproduce again the magic formula. I said, and I always remembered, oh, that day I slept, and I had to remember what I did the day before. So of course it never happened again, and and I even went out and bought a humidifier because I remembered I had a humidifier in my room. So I think I have 5 humidifiers now in my house because of that, which are useful now. But really, this is how bad it was. And and no. And then, like I told you, when I started focusing on the day, on the day, that's when the nights started to change, And when I started living despite, and anyone who's listening to this, like I know how hard it is, to function and to do things during the day despite the headache, the constant anxiety about sleep. But for me, that really helped me. And it happened very gradually, to the point where I cannot tell you, oh, I recovered at that time, or I recovered at this time, and I think putting myself accepting, not I was in an uncomfortable situation physically and mentally, and accepting that I was in this position and embracing that position and saying, okay, this is where I am now. And I cannot fight this. This is where I am now. So many months I was fighting it. I was fighting, no, you can't. No, can't be, can't be, can't be. But accepting that I was in this position and working in this environment, that's what helped me. I stopped trying to fight it.
That's what, yeah, that makes so much sense. And I wanted to ask you, like, what did it look like for you to like start living your life again and doing things? What did you do, or yeah, what did it look like?
I started doing things with my daughter, going to the park again, taking her out, talking to her, because I just wasn't who I wanted to be, but I just decided I couldn't. And I started being with her, with my husband, and I started doing things for the people I love,
Exactly.
And I took the train, and, I wasn't working at the time. I took the train, visited places with my eyes, I probably look like the crazy woman, their eyelid, how you are when you're tired. So
Yeah.
mind you, this whole time I was complaining about my sleep to the people around me. It's not like, oh yeah, I wake up and now I decide to live life. No. I was complaining. I didn't sleep. And that gradually, went down and down and down. And it was very gradual. And I needed to complain. I needed to express this. So I chose a time to do it, which was the morning, to one specific person. And thank you to that person who's my cousin for listening to me. So I was expressing that. I needed to.
Yeah.
But then I was done. So yeah, I was absolutely complaining and wearing my hood, which is what I do because, I just felt that way.
Yeah. I was going to actually comment on that real briefly, because what often happens is people watch an interview like this and they see Aida, she looks so well put together and composed, and she's smiling. But I remember, I saw a little bit of a different Aida, which was, very often it was like this, oh, I'm going to do like this in a dark room, talking, right? Remember?
Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
So I'm just telling this for people who know that it is like it, that it is a journey, but like Aida, you clearly were in a very different position. But But and I also really appreciate how you point out that when we talk about like you started living your life, it wasn't like overnight. You were just like out with your daughter having fun. You were still complaining. It was still difficult, but gradually things changed.
Oh, very
And
gradually. Yeah.
now, let me ask you this question. So, um, at what point uh, did you? I don't know. I don't remember exactly the date, and it's not important. But what made you decide, like, you know what? I think it's time for me to actually graduate from the immunity program.
When let me think about that. I think it was around the time I decided I could go on a trip to visit my friend. Time difference, which I don't do, which Aida doesn't do. I just don't, people know I don't do this. But yeah, when I decided, I said, it's fine. And I probably won't sleep, but it's fine. And I think that's when I said, okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I think
So
I'm
when
done.
when I hear that, I'm hearing a story of like you're deciding to do something that you would never have done before, something that you were way too
Mhm.
scared of before, but by sort of little by little, very gradually, sort of showing yourself that you can do things that are meaningful to you, important to you during the day, even if you're not sleeping well. That kind of led you to a place where you could, like, the fear had subsided, and you could make that type of decision. Does that ring true?
Yes, absolutely. Even if I didn't sleep well, to me, if you didn't sleep well, you couldn't do anything. That's done. That's
Yeah.
it. And you know, I I understand what not sleeping does. I mean, when not sleeping well, it's not even the not sleeping; it's the anxiety about not sleeping. Because I think yesterday I slept what 4 hours. I think it was 4 hours. I'm not sure. I was doing something that my daughter woke me up. I think it was something. It was just the anxiety of, is this going to repeat itself? And that itself gave me it that is what bothered me the most. Like, my brain was thinking all the time, all the time, all the time, and that is so exhausting.
Yeah.
And that type of exhaustion really hits you. So I know how hard it is. I know. And I would tell people, you don't know how difficult it is. You don't, I'm not just tired, I'm exhausted, you
Yeah.
know? Mm.
And now, at the time you decided to take this trip, and you're like, I think I'm ready to graduate this program. Um, you know, as you pointed out so nicely, it's not actually about the sleep. It's about how
Mhm.
how scared we are not sleeping, how scared we
Mhm.
are of being tired, and
Mhm.
etc. That really makes us feel like so heavy, like this really big burden, and the constant thinking about the same subject. At the time you graduated, where in terms of kind of the constant thinking about the same subject, and the burden, had that already started to lift quite a bit, or was it still there? How did you feel at that point?
No, it had started to lift, definitely, because I saw that it's absolutely unpleasant, it's uncomfortable, but I could still do what I could still function and quite well too, and I could still dress nicely, and I could still, I could still live.
Yeah.
Very extremely uncomfortable, extremely. But even when it was that uncomfortable, there were times, there were like times for an hour I'd forget about it. And that hour stretched to 2 to 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still had it. And obviously I went there. There's a time difference. I had the night before I had packed. So I went to bed, I think at 6, and I had to wake up an hour later, catch the flight, transatlantic flight. So there's a time difference. And yeah, I was exhausted when I got there. Like, I had a headache and I had everything. I didn't sleep well there, but after a while I did. And I don't even know if I slept well. I just know I was functioning and I was fine, you know?
Wow. I thought when you said you crossed time zones, I thought you went to like London or something like that,
No, 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 no. I
like
crossed
you
the
went,
Atlantic.
wow.
Yeah.
and you that must have been the first time you crossed over to the Atlantic, like for decades
Oh,
almost.
yeah. For a long time. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
I
How
crossed
was
it.
your stay there? How was your trip?
It was wonderful. Then the day after, I went again. I took a flight and went to somewhere else. And then I kept on going around and around, and I was fine, you know.
Yeah,
I was tired, but I was okay.
that's
I was okay.
amazing.
And I enjoyed seeing my friends and, you know. Hmm.
And let's fast forward to now, the last weeks or like this time in your life. Like, are you do you these kind of sleep thoughts, do they happen at all, rarely, here and there? How are you feeling? How are things like now?
Like no sleep thoughts. It just doesn't matter at all. It just doesn't matter because I know it won't kill me. Like I told you, I had uh, half a liter of Coca-Cola one night, like about 11:30, because I wanted the Coke. I just wanted it. Half a liter, watched a movie, had a small argument with my husband, took my telephone to my bed and fell asleep. And I found the telephone next to me when I woke up, you know? It's and I can tell you that it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And this thing about, I was always thinking I've got to sleep 8 hours, but I also found out that I was the kind of person who doesn't sleep that much, and who still functions very well. So
Actually, I have these kind of two last questions, but there was just this question I have to ask you, just popped up in my brain, which was this one. Like, if you imagine hearing yourself say all this now, like, I don't know, a year ago, how would you react to that?
no, I would say this is a lie. This is someone who looks like me, who's who's talking about these things, and don't believe her because it's not true. No, it would have been no. I couldn't. I never thought. And it's not like I never thought. And this is a problem I've had for so many years. I never thought it could be so. I never thought I would be at this place now. Never, never, ever.
So amazing. And now let's flip that. I just have two more questions. One of them
Mhm.
is, if you, on the other hand, could like travel back in time to when you had trouble sleeping and tell yourself something, what would you say?
Push through it. Just bear it. Bear it. It's worth it. Bear it. Push through it one day at a time.
One day
And
at a
Matt
time.
once said 1 hour at a time. Just push through it.
All right. And then final question. Were there things that you learned from this, like learning from the sleep struggles, that have been helpful in other areas of life?
Yeah, absolutely. Like right now, I'm changing my career, and I'm having the courage to do it. It taught me courage.
Yeah.
It taught me courage. Courage to be uncomfortable, to step out of your comfort zone. And this is what I take out of this,
Well said. Yeah, super glad. Let's conclude there. It's been it was so nice you joined, so nice working with you, and just a pleasure hearing your story today. Thanks for sharing it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye now, and be in touch.
Bye.